I get it. The word cinematic has become kind of cringe. Cinematic used to mean a film with the essence of big Hollywood, a piece of art that moves you. Now, cinematic has kind of just become doing this, or copying whatever Gox is doing. He's creative, but that's not the point. To be truly cinematic is about creating a feeling, an emotion for your audience. So how can you stand out from the crowd and create something that moves people?
And better yet, how do you do it when you're in charge of everything? Creative director, producer, sound guy, colorist, editor, you're in charge of it all.
In this video, we're gonna break down my cinematic filmmaking workflow and teach you how to create something with depth and emotion in an age of mindless content. Some might call it cringe, but for me, that's what it means to be cinematic. Let's get into it. The biggest issue I hear all the time from creators is just not knowing what to make. I personally almost never run out of ideas because I use my secret weapon, Instagram Reels. I scroll and I scroll and I scroll for hours. Just kidding. You have to stop convincing yourself that Instagram is inspiring you. It's just going to make you think and create like everyone else. What you really need is space. Walking is my secret weapon. In a world of constant stimulation, you need to slow your brain down. It reduces stress, removes you from constant dopamine hits, and lets the natural ideas flow. This is what I do. I go for a walk, preferably somewhere in nature, and after about 10 minutes, I pull up a song that inspires me. And then I just listen and imagine and see what emotions come to me. I listen to the song and try to get lost in it, and I visualize my film in that song. What do I want this video to feel like? What do I want my message to be? And then I go home and I write it all down. All of those feelings and ideas and emotions go into my journal. That's when I know I have something. And that emotion will transport me. So get lost in your writing, get lost in the song, get lost in the emotion of your story. Because if you can make yourself feel something real, it'll take you and your audience to places you never could have imagined. Sorry, got a bit caught up in the song. But you see what I did there? Walk, listen, write, repeat. It works. And I promise you, it's not just walking. I get my inspiration from so many other places in life. I get it from films. I get it from listening to music. I get it from fonts, weirdly enough. I get it from other YouTubers. But the biggest thing is that I walk to create space for my mind to come up with my own ideas, and then I hunt for inspiration to help fuel those ideas. Because I genuinely, what the fuck was that? I genuinely believe that 99% of my ideas have come from going on a walk, listening to a song, and writing shit down. And then the other 1% is probably just Instagram Reels, but it's rare, all right? It's not often. But ideas and inspirations are just pieces of the puzzle. To put the puzzle together, you need a plan. After these walks, all of my thoughts and inspiration and ideas used to go straight to a Google Doc, and I hated it. It was just a bunch of scrambled words that made it impossible to wrap my head around an actual tangible concept. That's where the sponsor of this video comes into play. With Milanote, it changed my entire process. Milanote is a place where I keep all of my thoughts in one organized place, and it just makes sense. It's so easy to visually capture your inspiration by creating mood boards, dedicated shot lists, adding visual references, production planning scripts, all in one place. I've used Milanote for years to organize my thoughts and ideas, and the biggest differentiator of just throwing it in a Notes app or a Google Doc is I am a visual person. And for that, it's the perfect tool because I get to see my entire project in one place. So what I do is I find the shots from films that I love, from other YouTubers that inspire me, any reference images that I want my film to feel like, and I start building out a board in Milanote that has all of these reference images so I can get an idea of the feeling of the film and how it's gonna look before I ever begin to touch my camera. And if you're like me and you get a little intimidated by starting with a blank canvas, they even have templates that you can select from to start your pre-production process. And on top of all that, they have an app. So once you finally do go out and shoot, you can pull it up and check all of your reference images, your script, everything you have within your Milanote, and have it all in one place. So yes, this video is sponsored by Milanote, but I've been using them for 3 years now, and it has been such an important tool in my creative process, especially for me, if you are a visual learner, if you like to have things in one place and see it all, Milanote is the perfect tool. So if you're interested in getting Milanote, which I really think you should, check them out down below. You can start for free using the link in my description. But even if you don't have Milanote, the sentiment remains true. Plan as much as you can.
Step 3 is shoot with intention. It all comes back to achieving an emotion and understanding before you go out and shoot, what emotion do I want my film to have, and then deciding how do I want to shoot around that.
An example of this is when I made a film about Willie, a 77-year-old Peruvian horse rider, and after learning more about him and his story and finding out it was a journey of strength, family, and meaning, I decided to shoot based on those themes. So I knew I wanted something outside, in the dirt, handheld, and raw to really exemplify the journey that he's been on. But in the film, when we talk about the connection that he has with his grandson, that's when I slow it down. I switch to a tripod and I try to get shots that really represent that passion. Knowing what emotion you want your film to have will help you choose shots that drive your story forward. So when I want that raw, real feeling, I shoot handheld. And this is like 75–80% of the films that I shoot, because I think handheld captures life in such an authentic way. It gives this almost home movie feeling. It feels like your viewer is there with you. It feels like they're experiencing that moment alongside you, and that's what the handheld look really does for a film. However, a bit too much of this can make a feeling of get out of here. It can create this feeling of uneasiness. It's very shaky. It's too much movement. And sometimes when I shoot handheld, I end up ruining the shot because I'm focusing on so many things instead of slowing down.
Because when you're looking through that little flippy screen, it doesn't look good. So you're like, whatever. And then down the line, when I open it up in editing, I just wish I held it.
And that's where the power of this boy comes in. Tripod. This is not the right tripod for this camera, but that's where the power of the tripod comes in. I think we've been conditioned to believe that every shot needs movement. If you're like me and grew up in this filmmaking world of 2016 to 2022, gimbals and drones and constant movement kind of became the norm. But now tripods are finally having their moment again, and I think it's so cool to see, because for me, I really didn't start to slow down and focus on the image until I used a tripod. So what I do is you have to treat it like a photo. If you do that, your framing, your composition, your leading lines, how you light your image, all of this will become so much more apparent because you're not constantly thinking about moving the image. You're just thinking about what looks good in that specific shot.
And here's a selection of some of my favorite types of shots that I like to get in my films that you can steal if you'd like. Low angle, big sky, tiny person, big frame, silhouette shots, closed frame when the person is kind of like in the corner facing away, looking directly at the camera. I think it creates this kind of power and emotion, and the top-down shot. Right? Those are just a few that I consistently find myself coming back to because I think they create enough visual contrast within my films to really make them pop.
Which leads us to step 4, the edit. Editing is a powerful tool. And one of the biggest things I like to do is utilizing the power of contrast. Contrasting colors, contrasting visuals, contrasting sound. Doing this will give your film a proper pace. Because if your film doesn't keep your audience on their toes and it just consistently gives them what they expect, they're going to lose interest. So as filmmakers, we look for ways to embrace the unexpected in your edit. When it comes to editing, you can build your tension with rising, stressful, quick cuts, and then boom, drop to something calm, serene. That contrast takes your audience on an emotional ride. Filmmaking is all about tension, building it and releasing it. Play around with contrast. You can do this with color grades, going from a cold color grade interior to warm exterior, kind of really emphasizing the outdoors and how that feels. And just playing around with different colors in your images can help create that contrast. I personally use my Immersion Light collection, which just released 2.0. So if you want to check it out, you can. Link down below. Look at that. It makes skin tones look great and travel footage look bold and powerful. Anyways, it's just about creating this contrast within your image, and if you can do that in color, I think it just levels it up that much more. But you can also create contrast in sound. Focus on contrasting pace within your film. Look at your song's waveform. That is your journey. When the song builds, choose faster, more exciting shots with movement, and when the song slows down, slow down with it. Switch to a tripod or a gimbal shot. Match the visual tone to that audio journey, but do not, and I do this all the time, so I'm kind of speaking to myself more, do not just rely on the song. Play around with sound design. It's so important, and I think a lot of times with color grade and sound design, you finish your film, you're like, cool, I'll give a little bit of time for color grade, and then like, you know, an hour for sound design, call it a day. Sound design should be such an integral part of your process, and once I learned how to properly sound design, it absolutely took my films to the next level. I want to end it by saying this. While some of you might think the word cinematic is cringy or overused, I embrace it, because it means you're trying. You're trying to make something that connects with people like a movie. And if you are an artist, that is what you should aim to do. Connect. Never be afraid of someone calling you cringy. Never be afraid of creating something that makes you feel something real, because the world needs more of that. So go share that story, go make that film, and never be afraid to be a bit more cinematic.